The retro handheld market is absolutely booming right now, with so many options making it so difficult to choose. But today we're going to check out the top 5 retro handheld systems you need to check out. Now this list will be covering handhelds we've reviewed on the channel, and we have reviewed some absolute beasts. So I'm really excited to tell you what the top 5 retro handheld systems are that you can get your hands on right now. Coming in at number 5 is the Powkiddy V90, a handheld I picked up to check out how it compares to the awesome Miyoo Mini. The Miyoo Mini is a fantastic device, but it's so expensive to get your hands on right now, and the V90 looked like it could be a brilliant competitor. Now the Powkiddy V90 can't compare in raw power to the Miyoo Mini. It struggles with PlayStation 1 titles and even some SNES titles as well. But if you swap the stock firmware for some custom firmware, it turns into an absolutely brilliant 16-bit machine. Throw into the mix that it's got the amazing form factor of the Game Boy Advance SP, along with all the extra buttons you're going to need to emulate all those games up to the 16-bit generation, including the fact that you can find them easily for just over £30. The Powkiddy V90 is one of the best budget-friendly retro gaming handheld systems you can get your hands on today. Next up is the oldest device on this list, and it's kind of like a retro handheld. But the RG351 series still today is one of the best retro gaming handhelds you can get your hands on for the price that it is. Anbernic did an absolutely fantastic job with the 351 series at a time when it felt like Anbernic were most in tune with the community. The RG351 is absolutely brilliant at emulating games all the way up to the PlayStation 1 and N64 generation as well, with even games running quite well on the Dreamcast. The RG351 even comes in 3 flavors, giving the option of a plastic console, which is a cheaper one, a metallic console, or the RG351 MP, which has a fantastic 4x3 screen, which means that depending on the type of retro games you want to emulate, you could go for the standard 351 and get that awesome PSP gaming in, or you could go for the more classic games and go for the 351 MP. The RG351s were such great consoles that even to this day they've still held their price quite well. But even at their RRP they were still really well priced, which means that this is still one of the best retro gaming handhelds you can get for under £100. Next up is a system that would have easily made the number 1 spot on this list if it wasn't for the fact that the low availability has made the prices absolutely soar, and that is the Miyoo Mini V2. The Miyoo Mini and the Miyoo Mini V2 are absolute pocket-sized beasts, which completely capture the essence and the beauty of handheld gaming, with an absolutely solid and gorgeous build quality, with buttons that just feel so nice, a screen that looks amazing, and a build quality that takes all the boxes of feeling retro and premium at the same time. The Miyoo Mini is an absolutely superb console. Throw into the fact that the Miyoo Mini emulates everything absolutely brilliantly all the way up to the PlayStation 1 generation, and this quickly became one of my favorite retro handheld consoles ever. The only issue is that with the popularity of the Miyoo Mini, they became a lot more difficult to find, and the prices soared from around £35 that I got mine for, closer to double the price now at around about £70, which is the reason why the Miyoo Mini sits at the number 3 spot instead of the number 1 spot that it easily would have occupied at its original price. Coming in at the number 2 spot is a system I think everybody's expected to see on this list, and that is the AYN Odin. AYN absolutely took the retro gaming handheld scene by storm when they released the AYN Odin. The Odin completely changed the scene of what we could expect from retro gaming handhelds. Up until before the Odin, we really only had budget-friendly systems, which went up to the PlayStation 1 generation and maybe a bit of Dreamcast. And then we had really expensive options which gave us more emulation power but were far out of reach of the average gamer. With the AYN Odin and the Pro model specifically, which I have, which you can get for around about £220, you are getting an absolutely amazing handheld system. A system that can brilliantly handle Android gaming, can give you access to game streaming services, and can give you emulation power all the way up to the PlayStation 2 and GameCube generations, with even a little bit of Wii support in there as well. The build quality and the power of the AYN Odins is absolutely brilliant. For me, the AYN Odin completely changed the landscape of what retro gaming handhelds could be, from being a more niche product for retro gamers to a system that can genuinely compete with current handheld devices like the Steam Deck and the Nintendo Switch. Although each of those systems target different areas, the AYN Odin carved out its own space in the current gaming handheld scene. Now, in the range of systems for which I would class as affordable for your average gamer, the AYN Odin is the most powerful you can get right now. And if money isn't a concern, it is definitely the best system system you can get your hands on. However, there is one system that totally took me by surprise, and the second I got my hands on it, I knew this was my new favorite retro gaming handheld system, and that is the Retroid Pocket 3. Now, I know there's a lot of mixed opinion as to which is better, the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus or the Retroid Pocket 3, and I give you my full opinion in the review of the Retroid Pocket 3, but for the sake of this list, I'm going to put the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus and the Retroid Pocket 3 both at this number 1 spot, with the only thing to differentiate which one you should go for, your personal preferences. The Retroid Pocket 2 Plus and the Retroid Pocket 3 are both identical when it comes to retro gaming, emulating systems brilliantly all the way up to the PSP, Dreamcast and N64 generation, and even giving some coverage for PlayStation 2 and GameCube as well. But if retro gaming is more your thing and you prefer that traditional aspect ratio, then the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus has a great form factor for those retro games. Whereas if you're looking to emulate PSP games and you want to jump into the world of game streaming and Android gaming as well, the Retroid Pocket 3 is the far superior handheld with the extra L3 and R3 buttons and the near perfect pocketable design. I've been a huge fan of Retroid devices ever since I got my hands on the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus, and as soon as I got the Retroid Pocket 3 I was blown away. For the price that it is, that you can get it for around about £140, the form factor, the size, the design and the processing power of this system is absolutely mind-blowing. And whereas I will use my AY and Odin to sit down and get some quality gaming time in, the Retroid Pocket 3 goes with me absolutely everywhere. Now, in-depth reviews for all of these consoles can be found on the channel here, and I'd love to know what your thoughts are on which is the best retro gaming handheld. As the market continues to develop and evolve, no doubt this list will change in the future. So if you want to keep your eyes out for that, make sure you're subscribed. And in the meantime, check out this awesome episode right here.